Welcome everyone. I'm excited to kick off today's presentation with a powerful message. Where you stand changes everything. Today, we'll be exploring how your position and mindset as a teacher can truly transform the learning experience. We'll discuss the importance of the teacher's stage and how it impacts student engagement and success. So, let's dive in and discover how shifting your perspective can make all the difference. Let's break the habit and explore the whole room. It's the classic position, but is it the best? Most teachers spend about 90% of their time standing at center stage. But I want you to ask yourself, are you really making the most of your space? Are you stuck in that same spot, just facing forward? Because if so, you're missing out on opportunities to connect more effectively with your students. Moving around the room can increase engagement, improve classroom management, and create a more dynamic learning environment. So today, we'll look at how you can break free from that traditional position and utilize the entire room to enhance your teaching. So as you step into a space, it's really important to establish yourself as the one in charge. That's where authority comes into play. When you have authority, your instructions become easy to broadcast across the room, making sure everyone understands what needs to be done without confusion. Next, clarity is key. When you're clear, everyone can see you and your cues at all times, which helps keep the entire room aligned and focused. Visibility ensures that your presence is felt and your message is understood, creating a seamless flow in communication. And finally, the front made sense. When you position yourself well and communicate effectively, the entire setup feels natural and logical to everyone. It's about creating a space where your authority, clarity, and visibility work together to make the environment feel organized and purposeful. This helps reinforce that you're in control, and everyone can follow your lead smoothly. Let's take a moment to explore how our philosophy about teaching has evolved over time. First, we see the contrast between viewing the teacher as a facilitator versus as an expert. In the facilitator role, the teacher guides students to discover and learn on their own, fostering independence and critical thinking. On the other hand, the traditional view of the teacher as an expert emphasizes delivering knowledge directly, which can sometimes lead to passive learning. Active engagement is now recognized as crucial. Students learn best when they are involved, questioning, and participating actively. This shift naturally contrasts with passive learning, where students might simply listen or memorize without truly engaging with the material. Another key point is the concept of democracy in the classroom, encouraging student voice, collaboration, and shared responsibility for learning. This is quite different from a strict hierarchy, where the teacher holds all authority and control. Overall, our philosophy has evolved from a teacher-centered approach to one that values student-centered learning, active participation, and democratic principles. This evolution reflects a broader understanding of how effective learning happens and aligns with our goal to prepare students for a collaborative, ever-changing world. Let's talk about challenge roles. One of the key shifts we want to make is reducing the boss vibe. Instead, we aim to increase the coach vibe. This means moving away from simply giving orders and instead guiding students, supporting their learning process. It's about fostering a sense of partnership and mentorship rather than authority alone. Next, building proximity is crucial. Instead of just standing at the front of the room, work alongside your students. Sit with them, move around, be present in their space. This helps create a connection and makes the learning environment more collaborative. Exploring dynamics is also important. When you move around the room, you can observe how the class functions differently. You might notice engagement levels or group interactions that are less visible from the front. Moving around allows you to adapt your approach in real time and better understand your students' needs. And remember, proximity is power. Being close to your students isn't just about physical closeness. It's about building trust, rapport, and a sense of community. When you're near them, you can influence the classroom atmosphere positively and make learning more effective. let's explore how shifting from a traditional leadership role to active participation can really transform the dynamic. When you step into the group at eye level, you'll notice the hierarchy dissolves almost instantly. It's as if barriers vanish and everyone becomes equal, fostering genuine connection. Now, a simple but powerful tip is where you sit. Instead of occupying a separate chair at the front, try sitting mid-semicircle, blending in as part of the group. This positioning helps break down formalities and encourages open, honest dialogue. Ultimately, this approach aligns with our broader goal of creating more authentic and engaging interactions. Remember, when we see ourselves as participants rather than leaders, we invite collaboration and trust to flourish. Notice how students tend to take more ownership of the front area when they feel they have a designated space. It's about creating a sense of responsibility and comfort in that zone. Always returning to the same spot, instead of wandering to the front or elsewhere, helps reinforce this ownership. It establishes a routine that students can rely on, making the space feel like their own. Pick a desk at the back as your home for the entire lesson. This consistency is key. When students have a designated home base, they know where to settle and focus. It reduces distractions and builds a sense of stability. So make the back your base and encourage students to keep returning there. This simple strategy can really boost their engagement and sense of control in the classroom. It's all about empowering students to take responsibility for their space and behavior, which ultimately supports their learning and confidence. All right, let's talk about the roaming broadcast. One important tip is to make sure students with hearing needs can still see your lips. This helps them understand you better and stay engaged. Moving on, keeping students alert is crucial, and changing the focal point of the lesson can really help with that. For example, try giving instructions from different parts of the room, maybe from the side, the back, or even the middle. This variation keeps their attention sharp and makes the classroom feel more dynamic. Overall, the key is to be flexible and intentional with your movement, which ties back to creating an inclusive and engaging learning environment through roaming broadcast techniques. Now, let's talk about sitting, which is actually a strategic choice. When you sit, it signals to your students that you trust them to work independently without needing constant supervision. This trust helps them feel more confident and free to explore their tasks on their own. It's all about creating an environment where students are empowered to take ownership of their learning. Next, the tone set by sitting is also important. When you choose to sit during activities, it often indicates a slower, more reflective pace. This is the perfect moment for storytelling or engaging in deeper discussions. Sitting encourages a calmer, more thoughtful atmosphere where students can process ideas and connect more meaningfully. And finally, giving yourself the opportunity to sit also means you can give yourself a break while students are working. You don't have to be monitoring every second or hovering constantly. Sitting allows you to step back, observe, and support when needed, which in turn fosters independence in your students. So remember, sitting isn't just a physical position. It's a strategic tool to build trust, set the right tone, and support your overall teaching approach. Let's talk about being mindful of postures during your presentation. In some cultures, sitting on the floor or showing the soles of your feet can actually be considered offensive. So, it's really important to be aware of these cultural norms to show respect and avoid misunderstandings. When you're unsure about what's appropriate, don't hesitate to ask. Better to be safe than sorry. Now, moving on to accessibility, it's crucial to ensure everyone in the room can see and hear you clearly. Make sure you're not backlit by windows, because that can turn you into a silhouette and make it hard for your audience to see your facial expressions and lip movements. Good lighting helps keep everyone engaged and connected. Remember, reading the room is about observing your audience's reactions and adjusting accordingly. It's all part of creating an inclusive and effective presentation environment. Now, let's reflect on how these changes affected my own feelings of authority and power. I noticed that when I adjusted my approach, I felt more confident and in control, but in a way that was more collaborative rather than top-down. It's interesting to see how shifting my behavior can influence my sense of authority. Next, I asked myself whether quieter students talked more when I was in their part of the room. And the answer was yes. By moving closer or engaging more directly with them, I observed that they became more willing to share their thoughts. It really highlights how physical presence and attention can encourage participation from students who might usually hold back. Then, I considered whether student attitudes shifted and if the quality of my relationships changed as a result. I found that when I was more attentive and responsive, students seemed more engaged and respectful. The connection I built with them improved, which in turn created a more positive and productive classroom environment. All of these points tie back to the core idea that our approach as teachers can significantly influence not just student participation, but also how we perceive our own authority and the overall classroom climate. It's about being intentional and reflective, seeing how small adjustments can lead to meaningful change. All right, it's time to step off the stage and really discover your studio. This is about transforming your teaching through movement, making it more engaging and effective. I want you to choose one experiment from what we've discussed today and try it out tomorrow. This is your challenge, something simple but powerful that can make a real difference. Remember, the goal is to experiment, learn, and grow. So pick that one idea, give it a shot, and see how it changes your teaching experience. This is how we take the concepts from today and turn them into action. So go ahead, embrace the challenge, and start transforming your studio one step at a time.